Jai Hind, and welcome back to the part 2 of our exploration of Kautilya's Arthashastra. In this particular session, we will move from theory to practice. We'll try to examine the specific policy instruments, military strategies, and administrative mechanism that Kautilya advocates. Uh, where part 1 focused on why and what of statecraft, part 2 will focus on how the operational dimension of strategy and governance. Let's move forward. One of the Kautilya's most practical contribution is the Shadgun or the six-fold policy, a framework for foreign policy decision making. These are not rigid. These are not rigid doctrines, but flexible strategies that a ruler can employ based on the circumstances and power calculations. Let me introduce you to the first four: the Sandhi, alliances, and the alliance and peace treaties. This involves making peace with rivals, forming alliances, and entering into agreements when diplomatic solution serves your interest better than conflict. Vigraha, war and hostility, when diplomatic means when diplomatic means fail, when victory is achievable, direct military confrontation becomes the appropriate strategy. The Asan, neutrality and waiting. Sometimes the wisest course is is inaction, observing how situations develop, building strength, and waiting for favorable circumstances. The next is Yan or Yana, that is marching and military expedition. This involves military mobilization and movement, projecting power shortcuts, necessarily engaging in full scale war. Notice the range of options from peace to war, from action to inaction. Kautilya provides ruler with a complete menu of strategic choices. Now let me complete the framework with the remaining two strategies, that is samrashya or samshraya, seeking protection or alliance. When when facing a stronger adversary, seeking the protection of a more powerful state becomes prudent. This acknowledges that not not all states are equal and survival sometimes require accepting subordinate status temporarily. The next is, and the last one, sixth one is Dvadbhava, that is dual policy, meaning maintaining peace with one state while waging war with another. The sophisticated strategy recognizes that interstate relations are multidimensional. You can have simultaneous cooperative and conflictual relationship with different actors. The underlying principle across all six strategies is flexibility based on power assessment. Kautilya's Kautilya advises rulers to constantly evaluate their power related to potential adversaries and choose strategic strategies accordingly. This represents diplomatic pragmatism over rigid ideology. There is no moral superiority to power or peace in themselves. The choice depends on circumstances, capabilities, and interest. This pragmatic approach characterized Kautilyan strategic or Kautilyan's strategic thought and distinguishes it from more idealistic approach to uh, international relations. Let's move forward. We'll talk about the intelligence. That is one of the most fascinating aspect of the Arthashastra, is its detailed treatment of intelligence and espionage. Kautilya devotes considerably attention to this often neglected dimension of statecraft. He advocates for an elaborate spy network serving both internal and external security purposes. Internally, spies monitor potential threats to a regime, including disloyal ministers, rebellious nobles, and popular discontent. Externally, they gather intelligence on enemy capabilities, intentions, and vulnerabilities. Kautilya identifies different types of spies with specialized roles. On some specialized roles, some pose as merchants, some as ascetics, some as students. Each type has a specific advantage for gathering different kind of intelligence. Beyond passive intelligence gathering, Kautilya advocates covert operations to destabilize enemies, sowing dissension among enemies' ministers, undermining enemy morale, supporting internal rebellions, and assassinating key enemy figures when necessary. The key insight is that intelligence forms the foundation of strategic decisions. Without accurate information about enemy capabilities and intention, all strategic planning is guesswork. Good intelligence provides the informational basis for sound decision making. This emphasis on intelligence makes Kautilya's remarkably modern contemporary strategic thinking. Similarly, recognizing similarly recognizes intelligence as a critical component of national security. Next is let's turn to the military organization. Kautilya provide detailed guidance on how to structure and maintain military force. The basic structure is the fourfold army: infantry, cavalry, chariots, and the elephants. Each arm has specific roles and advantages. Infantry provide mass and occupies territory. Cavalry offers mobility and shock power. Chariots serves as mobile command platforms and prestige weapons. Elephant function as the ancient tanks breaking enemy formations. Kautilya classifies military force by their source and loyalty. Hereditary troops have traditional loyalty. Hired troops serves for payment. Allied forces come for partner state. Corporate troops are professional military organization. He emphasizes that a strong, loyal and well-trained military is essential for state security. Military strength is not about numbers but about quality, training, discipline and morale. The emphasis on discipline and motivation is particularly important. Kautilya understands that military effectiveness depends on more than equipment and numbers. It requires cohesion, loyalty and fighting spirits. A smaller, better motivated force can defeat a large, demoralized one. Then Kautilya also talked about the or recognizes the warfare taken multiple forms. An effective strategy requires adaptability based on the circumstances. One of the open warfare he talked about the open warfare. This is direct military confrontation, formal battles between organized armies. This is appropriate when you have superior strength or when circumstances favor decisive engagement. Next is another is warfare. This involves a guerrilla tactics, subversion and unconventional method. When facing a stronger enemy or when circumstances don't favor open battle, covert method can be more effective. Psychological warfare, propaganda, misinformation and psychological operations aim to undermine enemy's morale, create dissension and win without fighting. Kautilya understand that perception and psychology matter as much as physical force. The key principle is adaptability based on enemy strength and weakness. There is no single correct form of warfare. The choice depends on comparative assessment of capabilities and circumstances. This comprehensive understanding of warfare integrating conventional, unconventional and psychological dimensions demonstrate the sophistication of Kautilya's strategic thought. Modern military doctrine similarly recognizes multiple domains of warfare. The next is strategic planning in war. Kautilya emphasizes that war is not merely a test of strength but of strategy and planning. Several principles govern strategic planning. First, conduct through assessment of uh, comparative power before engagement, understanding your strength and weakness related to the enemy. Don't engage in fights you cannot win. Second is victory comes through superior strategy, not just superior force. Clever strategy can overcome numerical or material disadvantages. This is why intelligence, deception, and strategic planning matter so much. Third, understand the importance of terrain, timing, and logistics. Wars are won not just on battlefields but through superior positioning, better timing of operations, and more effective logistics. Fourth, recognize the commander in chief's critical role in execution. Even brilliant strategies fail without uh, or with poor execution. This quality of military leadership determines operational success. These principles remain relevant in contemporary military planning. Modern military strategies similarly emphasizes the integration of intelligence, strategy, and operational excellence. Moving forward, uh, we'll discuss the economic foundation of this understanding of power. One of the Kautilya's most important insight, and one of that distinguishes him from many traditional strategists, is his recognition that economic strength underpins all other forms of power. A strong treasury is essential for military capabilities. Armies must be paid, equipped, and supplied. Without economic resources, military power is unsustainable. Kautilya provide detailed guidance on revenue systems and taxation policies, how to extract resources from society without destroying productive capacity, and how to balance immediate revenue needs with long-term economic growth. He advocates state monopolies on key resources and industries, forests, mines, strategic goods. This centralizes control over critical economic assets and generates revenue. The key insight is that economic strength underpins diplomatic leverages. A wealthy state can sustain longer wars, maintain larger armies, and offer attractive inducement to political allies. Conversely, economic weakness limit all strategic options. That integrates this integration of economic and military strategies thoroughly modern. Contemporary strategic thinking similarly recognizes that comprehensive national power integrates economic, military, diplomatic, and informational dimensions. Kautilya also advocates the administrative structure, which we are going to discuss in this particular slide. Kautilya devotes considerable attention to administrative organization, the machinery of governance that implements policy and maintains state control. He advocates centralized authority combined with functional decentralization. The king retain ultimate decision-making authority, but specialized departments handle specific functions. This combines coherent strategic directions with administrative efficiency. The Ministerial Council of Specialized Departments manage different aspects of governance, revenue, military affairs, justice, foreign relations. This represents an early form of cabinet government. Territorial administration operates from province to villages, with officials at each level responsible for governance, revenue collections, and order maintenance. This hierarchical structure ensures central control while adapting to local conditions. Critically, Kautilya includes checks, balances, and accountability mechanism. Officials are monitored to prevent corruption and abuse of power. This recognition that power tends toward abuse unless checked is remarkably Sophisticated. There are some contemporary relevance too. Why you must be questioning every time that why we studying a 2300-year-old text, because Kautilya's insights remain remarkably relevant to contemporary strategic challenges. His works has had profound influence on India's strategic culture and foreign policy. Indian strategic thinking often reflects Kautilyan pragmatism, strategic autonomy, and balancing behavior. The mandala theory find applications in modern geopolitical analysis. The concept that neighbors are natural competitors while distant states can be naturalized explain many contemporary alliance patterns. Balance of power and alliance building strategies central to the Arthashastra remain fundamental to international relations. The logic of balancing against threats and forming coalition to constrain powerful state operate today as it did in Kautilya's time. The integration of economic, military, and diplomatic tools, what we now call comprehensive national power, reflects Kautilyan thinking. Uh, Modern strategies similarly recognize the effective statecraft requires coordinated use of all instruments of national power. So there are some key takeaways which I am going to discuss now, and let me summarize these key insights from Kautilya's Arthashastra. First, it provides a comprehensive framework integrating all aspects of statecraft: political, economic, military, diplomatic, administrative, and so on. This holistic approach distinguishes it from narrower strategic texts. Second, it advocates pragmatic realism in foreign policy and warfare. Decisions should be based on interest, capabilities, and circumstances rather than ideology or wishful thinking. Third, while advocating a strength and preparedness for war, diplomacy is prioritized with force as a necessary option when diplomatic means fails. Kautilya is not a warmonger. He is a strategist who recognizes that a state must be prepared to use force while preferring diplomatic solutions. The fourth is that the Arthashastra has enduring influence on strategic thought, not just in India but globally. It insightful his insights into power, statecraft, and strategy remain relevant across different eras and contexts. This concludes our comprehensive exploration of Kautilya's Arthashastra. We have journeyed from foundational philosophical uh, philosophy through the operational dimensions of statecraft, diplomacy, and warfare. I hope you have gained appreciation for the sophistication and continuing relevance of the ancient text. Kautilya's insight remind us that strategic challenges facing a state, managing power, forming alliances, balancing interests, integrating different instruments of national power are timeless. As you continue your studies in defense and strategic studies, international relations, or restaurant of peace and conflict studies, I encourage you to reflect on how these ancient principles apply to contemporary challenges. Thank you. We end this lecture here today.